As you start up a conversation with a Diagnostic Manager prospect, we'll provide some qualifying questions that are tied to the 3 most common business scenarios and 4 general topics that are designed to focus on the prospect's unique situation. The topics are performance, which is tied to technology and their environment, the user experience, which speaks for itself and is very important, productivity, which is not only for the SharePoint administrator, but also end users, and finally reporting, which is great messaging for IT managers. You'll also notice that this is a grid, and what we'll cover are questions to ask, pain points to find, the solutions that we offer, and the benefits that we show. Don't worry, on any one of these grids, we won't go through all the questions, but a few selected ones. Let's discuss qualifying questions to support new critical business initiatives. As you know, SharePoint has been around for over 10 years, and organizations are becoming more and more dependent on not only collaborating around documents, but also using the SharePoint infrastructure to support key critical business workflows. Customers are spending money to develop solutions for their business users, and those users in turn expect performance equivalent to any other system that they're using. I'll go through a few of the key questions, but not all. So, first, regarding performance, what we can ask is, do your existing tools take into account SharePoint Farm operational performance? This really hones in on key differentiators for Diagnostic Manager, which is focusing on the SharePoint applications. In this scenario, user success is key, so we guide you towards questions like, what is the business impact of SharePoint performance and outages? I can tell you from experience that users will jump off the critical system you've just built and spent money for and use alternative methods. Now, these methods can cause confusion, inaccuracy of the content, maybe even some chaos while the information is hiding. So don't worry, Diagnostic Manager can provide alerts and early warning before users start complaining. SharePoint outages affect the productivity of both the administrators and the end users. To be on the side of the administrator, you can ask, are your performance problems wrongfully attributed to SharePoint? Remember, without accurate visibility, a browser, network, server, or SQL issue can be blamed on SharePoint. Here, Diagnostic Manager provides the solution to ensure all of the right technical resources are available to support the critical initiative. Finally, this scenario most likely has promised end users a service level agreement, yes, an SLA, or an expectation of performance. But how do you know that they're reaching those goals without a platform to diagnose or monitor the system? So, of course, Diagnostic Manager provides alerts and reporting to understand all of those systems supporting the initiative. Let's discuss qualifying questions around the scenario of troubleshooting SharePoint. This is the core of how Diagnostic Manager assists IT organizations. SharePoint is complicated, and it is hard to determine the root cause of a performance issue. Was it the browser, the network, SharePoint servers, SharePoint itself, or maybe applications or web parts? So here, we'll go through a few of the questions, again, not all, that will help you understand and ask the prospect. The quintessential question in this scenario is, how long does it take to identify and diagnose SharePoint problems? In the realm of performance, this really talks about the assumptions that were used to set up SharePoint in the first place, both technical resources and human capital. If there's a lot of time-consuming troubleshooting, then all of those assumptions go out the door. But don't fret. Diagnostic Manager provides visibility into what's going on across the network, SQL, server, and application to be able to troubleshoot and apply the right technical resources. Regarding the end user, we ask the conspiratory question: how do you first hear about performance issues? Knowing that most likely it's by the end user calling and complaining that SharePoint is acting poorly. To them, it doesn't matter if it's a browser, network, or SQL issue. They just want the speed that was promised and they expected. So the perception is it's all SharePoint's fault. So with Diagnostic Manager, an administrator can look at a single point of time and work with all the teams to rectify the issues. That rolls quickly into productivity of the SharePoint administrator, and we can ask, how do you determine why and where performance is slow? And again, that administrator probably picks up a phone and calls other teams if they don't have insight into other monitoring solutions. So it goes to the main point that it's hard to find issues and pinpoint the root cause. And now, with Diagnostic Manager, the administrator has their own access to the performance of all supporting systems and can work quickly, increasing productivity, or maybe even proactively before an error happens to contact the teams and adjust resources. Finally, for reporting, we can ask, can you easily validate the quality of the SharePoint service? And this directly ties into us SharePoint versus them, Network SQL, that Diagnostic Manager can provide reports to state any of the supporting systems during the troubleshooting request. So instead of having to gather information from all around, the reports can show what was happening, again, at a specific point in time. Some qualifying questions for prospects who are going through the data center transformation and consolidation scenario. As you know, this scenario is a little bit more of a niche, and it's one that our Content Matrix and Control Point products play in heavily, so it's how Diagnostic Manager can support a lot of our sales. Whether a customer is upgrading servers, moving to the cloud, or designing a hybrid solution, their IT organization is promising the same level of performance from the current location to the next. But how do they know? How do they prove that the performance is going to be what they say it is? We know from experience that business users are going to complain about the change no matter what. And so Diagnostic Manager provides proof that the performance they've promised has been the same. So let's go through a few of these questions. You could probably get away with asking only one question in this scenario. Do you understand how consolidation, transformation, and version migration, or one of those, will impact your SharePoint applications? This is the core pain point, that projects are at risk due to the lack of understanding of the performance of both the source and the destination environments. Diagnostic Manager provides information to optimize the consolidation process and remove at least some of that project risk. During this process, the end users most likely have been promised the same level of service. So you can ask, what happens if you miss critical system dependencies and performance levels during this transformation? This can cause a deviation from the expected application performance. And with Diagnostic Manager, you can monitor the end user experience and defend whether the users are just complaining about the change or about actual service levels. Regarding productivity, we go back to asking, do you have a system in place to quickly troubleshoot the inevitable problems? This directly aligns with the issue that there is a lack of visibility into both the source and destination. And with Diagnostic Manager, from one single console, you can view a complete picture of both farms, source and destination, and receive alerts that also, I want to point out, are customized. Maybe it's a development environment, so the thresholds are higher than in a production environment. Now, any organization that's doing this troubleshooting is motivated by some objective, whether it's a service level, cost, or a combination of many. And with Diagnostic Manager, they can not only compare the performance from the source and destination, but also prove through the reports the benefits that they've promised those end users. In summary, with Diagnostic Manager, the key qualifying questions are not only about identifying the little buttons in the product that people will most likely use, but aligning the key pain points with the solutions that we provide.